All right, welcome back, fellow TFFL owners, to your TFFL Webcast, Week 12 edition. We're looking back at Week 11, but looking ahead to Week 12. 2 weeks to go in the 2018 season as we sit here on Tuesday, November 20th, 2 days away from Thanksgiving. We'll answer the question for the 50th time. What day is the trade deadline?
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Wow. So quickly, let me get the panel intros out of the way a little earlier than usual. We're missing Chief tonight. We'll take advantage of that during trivia. But Terry, our commissioner and managing director of the first place Steel City Mongols, now in control of your division.
Yep. Nice work, everyone.
Hank, czar and CEO of the K-Wheels, our IT director. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Berto, high command.
Yeah.
Of Jack's Giant Killer.
Yeah.
We're
good to be back.
Focus grouping that new title. Our listeners out there
we can always change it next week.
And our special guest this evening, Thorny from the Slippery Beavers. Season didn't quite turn out like you thought it would. But,
yeah.
But we've talked a lot about who the big person to blame for that is.
Yeah, and we'll just recover and try to forgive him next year, but it'll be tough.
All right, let me go through our headlines really quick. Jump in if you want, guys. It's getting way too repetitive, but we got to keep acknowledging it. The Boba Fett's unbeaten streak continues. 23 games now, I believe.
That's correct.
It's going to end this week.
Obviously, still unbeaten. Still looking for that unbeaten season that we've never seen. 2 games to go for the Fats.
Who's he got this week?
Well, he's got the Mongols coming up this week.
Okay.
Mongols?
No Goff, no Gurley, no Kelsey.
So. There we go.
This is the week, Mongols. You are on the docket to get him. This is if anybody's going to get him, this is the week.
The Mongols have had some good fortune this year. We've coined our season smoke, mirrors, and Drew Brees.
And the Saints with Drew Brees are playing the Falcons.
Yeah, Falcons on Thursday night. That's going to be come on, Drew Brees. Yeah. Light it up. Put up 40. Let's go.
So I think the Mongols have a real shot. The Lizards on deck in Week 13 are obviously a strong team. The Fats have their work cut out for them to go unbeaten for a full season. I wanted to point out, and then Rob acknowledged this, there's obviously some luck that you're going to have to get throughout a streak this long. They beat the Aliens. What did I end up scoring? 29 points this week in an otherwise high-scoring week where a lot of teams had big numbers that would have beaten the Fats. Hank, I think you looked at it, and what, the Fats would have been 3-7-1 against the entire league. I was one of those 3 teams they would have beaten.
Yep. They had a less than 50% chance of beating someone in a random team in the league this week, and they drew the right hand. Sometimes that's what it takes, though. 23 in a row is ridiculous. So, congrats, Fats.
And that was a great game, of course, on Monday night. Rams Chiefs supplying a lot of his points to clinch that victory. Another headline: the Amsterdam Packers clinch the division title in the NOCO East. Congratulations to Ralph. It wasn't more than a couple weeks ago we were joking about that dynasty maybe having come and gone before you really knew it. But this team is scoring well. They just got 96 points. They've clinched their division. They're in the playoffs. We'll see what happens from here.
You always know that Ralph is doing a little bit better because the emails will ratchet up. We'll dial up a little bit with each win. So
he's been doing
a little more communication.
He's starting to get healthy.
Start to win more games.
His logo game has been unparalleled.
Strong all year.
Yes, week in and week out.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Giovencos, Hormel Hams establishing themselves now, I think, as the division and the conference favorites, not just by virtue of their win. They got 100 points last week, but they've made a couple big trades to add to their team. And of course, he was on the webcast, so we know the Hams usually perform well after being on the webcast. So adding up in the Hams' favor. And as we acknowledged, Steel City Mongols, big win over the Dirt Devils, really taking control of that division. I don't think you've clinched it quite yet, but you'd have to lose both of your games. Devils would have to win both of theirs.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, it's either a Mongols win or a Devils loss, and I'm in.
And we'll talk a little bit more about you and your division later on. Some injuries in Week 11. Alex Smith done for the year for what that's worth. Kerryon Johnson, running back for the Lizards. I don't know quite what the timetable is there. A couple weeks, it sounds like, with a knee injury. The problem for the Lizards is they have Kareem Hunt on a bye in Week 12. Now they've got Kerryon Johnson out. They didn't have a super strong running back core to begin with, so that's a little bit of a weak link right now.
Sounds like a trade opportunity.
Maybe. Jimmy Graham, broken thumb for the Hormel Hams. Maybe part of the reason they've gone on a buying spree here. Graham may play, or he may be out for a while. We'll see. O.J. Howard, tight end O.J. Howard, done for the season for the Sponge Fishermen as of today. He'd been playing well. Let's get to the trades really quick, or maybe not really quick. There's a lot to talk about here, and there's no sense waiting for the panel on these. This is big news in the TFFL today. Hank doing most of the dealing, giving away Phillip Rivers, trading away Julio Jones. We'll start with the smallest of the trades, but the one I maybe like the most, just by virtue of Terry's ruthlessness. The Rams defense brings home the win on Monday night with 2 touchdowns and less than 24 hours later sent packing. I'm not sure I could have done that.
Yeah, it was hard. Alex Smith's injury kind of painted me in a corner. I had one FA pick left that I planned to use on a defense, and then realized I may need to use that on a quarterback here in the next couple of weeks. So I went ahead and thanked them for all they did for me last night and made the trade. So,
a couple nice parting gifts.
You have been a bold trader this year, Terry. Well done.
I think maybe it's being on the webcast.
Mongols' fortunes have changed. Love it.
I don't have a lot to say about the Phillip Rivers trade. I think that is what it is. The big one is the Julio Jones trade. So let's get to that and talk about that for a moment. Correct me if I get any of this wrong. So you get back a first rounder this year, 2019, a second rounder in 2020, and you give away a 5th and
the 10th.
And Julio Jones.
Correct. Right. So
value for value.
And I don't know, what's worth what and whatnot. I'm in a bit of mourning over Julio leaving the K-Wheels. He's been my guy, and we all know it. He's been scoring. He's got a 3-week touchdown streak going. I mean, I told Michael I wish him well, and I hope Julio wins him a title. Great player. Julio Jones is awesome to have on your team, and I wish him well. I'm a little choked up.
It was a nice note, Phil.
Yes.
K-Will's ring of honor.
I tell you what, I was shocked by this trade. Shocked. Shocked, I tell you. No, for the fact that Phil traded Julio Jones, I didn't think that would happen. Number one, Phil is not the type of owner that goes out and makes these huge trades. I would consider Phil one of the more cautious, if not the most cautious trader in the league. So I couldn't believe it when I saw that come through. I'm not saying it's a bad trade for Phil. I think it's a pretty good move. But I think for Michael, I texted him. I said, "Nice move. I'm very proud of you. Good aggressive move." because he's pushing his chips all in, and I think that's awesome. So I think Michael sees an opening here with the way Mahomes is playing, that he can make a run, a serious run. So I think it was a great trade for Michael, and a ballsy one at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when Michael sees a deal, he usually goes after it pretty aggressively, at least in my dealings with him. So I would venture to say he probably reached out to you, yeah, Phil, and that's how it went down. But I don't know, Hank. I do have one question. Like, when I've traded players that I love, have you spent like a week emotionally preparing yourself before the trade, knowing it may come down to this?
Terry, I want to be honest with you. Michael and I have been talking about this trade probably for 3 weeks, if not more. And I don't remember when it was that we were together for some gathering, and he said, let's talk about Julio Jones. I was in the middle of my 7-game losing streak. I probably lost 3 or 4 in a row and realizing I was going south. And he got aggressive with it quick. And my immediate reaction was, no freaking way. Julio's never leaving the K-Wheels. He's not getting traded. And then I thought about it more and more. And it's like, look, our league is about guys that you can keep and have on your team for a while. I enjoyed having a number of early picks last year, and I think it helps build some depth, or at least take some shots at some longer-term guys. Julio is a great player right now, but he's probably, on the downside of his career as we go.
Yeah.
I love him. And but right before I agreed to the trade, I took a big moment to pause, and I was like, why am I trading this guy? I don't know if I want to trade him at all. But then I'm like, I got to do something. The K-Wheels have been bad for too long. Let's go.
Right.
So this seems like the proverbial girl that Michael was chasing, who finally, so his text to me was, he's been going after Julio for a couple of years. First time that he didn't get an immediate no or an immediate rejection. The door was open a little bit. And
yeah. He has been asking me for years to trade him Julio. Always. Like, whenever I see him, he asks me to trade him Julio. And I've been a dead no. And Berto's already trying this with Saquon. He's going to keep asking and keep asking and keep asking.
I'm softening you up now for like 3 or 4 years down the road. Exactly.
I'm not trading Saquon Barkley anytime in the foreseeable future, Berto. So
for anything.
No, no. I want him. He's exactly the guy we all want to have on our teams. I have him. I'm keeping him. Bill Jones, and I loved having him. I had him for 8 years.
Bill, you're somebody who I know has traded Andre Johnson to me for a first-round pick, Jordy Nelson to me in his prime for a first-round pick. You've stockpiled and traded away lots of receivers over the last 5-10 years. You've got maybe a unique perspective on this. What did you think?
Oh, well, I the only thing I would say, I think Phil did it 3 weeks too late, because he could have been in competition for the first or second pick. Right now, he's he won a couple games. So if you're gonna make strategic decisions, make them when they're really ballsy, not when you're already fighting for the 5th spot.
Dude, I had lost 7 straight games until last week.
Well, when you lost 5 straight, that's when you say, okay, that's it.
All right.
Hank was 3-0.
I did.
You could also make this argument too, that he just scored in the last 3 games, and Julio wasn't getting in the end zone too much before that.
Which, the revert to the norm would mean that he would probably score 10 in the next 4 games.
That after the last 3 weeks, his value probably went up as well. So
yes, Berto's got it. The offers have gotten better, Thornburg. They were not good in week 5. I'm just telling you. So
I'm just saying, I maybe a week or 2 late. That's all I'm saying.
I'm confident that Michael and I arrived at the right deal for now. I think he gave up as much as he was willing to give up, and I gave him, the player he wanted.
I'm not questioning on the value, just the timing.
It's a good point, Bill. It's a good point.
In fact, the value was on par. I would say it's a good trade for both, but the timing, that's my only question.
All right. Fair enough.
So let me just start by clarifying who exactly we're talking about here in Julio Jones. This guy, for all the knock on the lack of touchdowns aside, is historically good in terms of the yardage he racks up. Here's his last, for 2014, he had 1,593 yards. 2015, 1,871 yards. 2016, 1,409 yards. 2017, 1,444. He's on pace this year. My quick math is, 1,700 yards again. 5 straight years over 1,400 yards. He's scoring points even without scoring a ton of touchdowns. He's, I think at this point, early in his career, he had a couple injuries. He's now, certainly very durable. I think the key question, Hank got at this, is he really on the downside of his career? If he's going to post 1,400 yards and 8 touchdowns in 2019 and in 2020 at age 30 and 31, that's my concern here. And this is a compliment to the K-Bills, Hank. You've got Deshaun Watson. You got Saquon Barkley. With Julio Jones, I don't think you're that far away. You're going to add a fairly high pick in 2019. If Julio is still producing at that level for 2 or 3 more years, that's what I worry about. But you get a first and a second is certainly a good package. And my only other thought there is when I make these kind of trades, I kind of like to look at making the first rounder come in 2020 in this scenario, because Michael's probably going to be at the top, bottom half of the first, certainly the bottom half of the first round.
Probably present value though. I mean,
that's the trade-off. But again, I think the K-Bills are fairly well positioned. This is not a massive rebuilding effort. They need to find another running back to support Saquon Barkley more than anything.
Right. And now I get another first-round pick for a crack at it again next year.
Yep.
And I feel like I've got 3 other good receivers in Robert Woods and Will Fuller and Marvin Jones. And Anthony Miller seems to be coming along, so he's somebody that's not, out of the question. So I felt like I had a little bit of depth there, and that was the value I could get. Julio was the chip in play.
And there's nobody else that's Julio, but I would point out that Robert Woods, if that Rams offense keeps doing what it's doing this year, next year, and with those young guys there, they should. Robert Woods is a #1 fantasy receiver.
Exactly. So that made me feel a little bit better about, what was going with Julio and getting that pick. But like I said, I love him. I love having him on my team. I hope he does very well for the Hams, and I'll miss him.
Just a couple other things about this trade. The Hams are playing the Wheels this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So short-term maneuver, take them off the wheels, win this critical week, and then going back to the Rivers trade stick, which I know we didn't touch on. Rivers being picked up this week. That trade, giving up the 4th-round pick, was specifically just for this week, week 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, another, 2 trades that, yes, the Julio Jones is a bigger deal, certainly, and he's a good player, but both of those trades have this week kind of implications to what's going to happen with the Ham season.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing about this trade is the subtext of this is now I have the Senators' 1st-round pick. The Wheels have the Hams' 1st-round pick. So we both have our dogs in the race to see who's going to win that division, because that losing team who doesn't win that division, if they don't make the playoffs, that draft pick can improve, 4 or 5 picks. So that's the other.
Yeah, let's go Senators. Come on, Kev.
We got to root for the Hams.
And conversely, I own the Senators' 2nd-round pick, so I'll be hoping that they lose.
There you go.
So, I just want to – this has been an extended version of headlines. But 2 more big headlines looming. We got 2 big games ahead. Week 12, my game, Aliens and Lizards. Week 13, Senators and Hams. So let's wrap up the intro here and move on to TFFL trivia before we get too far.
That's right. We didn't do trivia question yet.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
Yeah,
15-pointer.
we got way off on that, but yeah.
So let me see if I can frame this properly, and I'll introduce it by acknowledging that Chief has this monstrous lead in trivia. So because it all means nothing, we're gonna really try to give everybody a chance to catch up in Chief's absence here. Like it or not, we're gonna create some TFFL trivia drama down the stretch. So since 2010, there have been 6 wide receivers who have been drafted in the first 5 picks of the TFFL draft. 6 receivers taken somewhere in the top 5 picks. 2 points each for every one of those 6 that you can name. And 3 points for telling me which one of them was drafted the highest.
So in the top.
Say it again. Say it again.
Yeah.
We have 6 receivers who have, since 2010,
Okay.
who have been drafted in the top 5 of our draft. Most people are, of course, going running back at the top of the draft. 6 stud receivers have flashed enough for people to use a top 5 pick on them. Name all 6 of those receivers. I'll give you 2 points for each one you can get. 12 points total there. And tell me which of the 6 receivers was drafted the highest. And you can get 3 points.
Okay.
15 points on the line.
Wait, what was the second part of that? The last part.
Which one of those 6 receivers
Okay.
was drafted the highest?
Okay.
I can't. All right.
All right.
This is a good question.
All
You're
right.
not giving away points here, Stick.
There's a lot of points on the line. You should be able to amass a good chunk for the guests here, Bill. All right, Hank, give us the your version of the TFFL standings. There's lots of different ways to look at it, but 2 weeks to go. Where do we stand?
Okay, let's do that. And I'll come back to my pondering on the receiver question, which is it's a good one. All right, so we're getting down to it, guys. 2 games to go. 2 games to go. Things are becoming clearer. Here we go. The division leaders through 11 weeks. The double star next to the NOCO champion Boba Fett's 10-0-1. 11 weeks that a loss, getting impressive. Underneath them with 1 star is the NOCO East champ, Amsterdam Packers. Boo. Berto, sorry, we didn't get it done this year.
No, we did not.
No. Our SoCo East leader is now the Hams by virtue of their win and the Senators' non-win. And the SoCo West leader, another big one, the Mongols with their gigantic victory over the weekend, have the inside track on the SoCo West title.
Yes.
All right, our next group is still in the playoff race. The Lizards, they are the 1 seed in the wild card hunt. 1 win and they're in as the wild card, 7-4 right now.
Okay.
Senators, the next team if the season ran today at 6-4-1. They're leading, but they really can lock it up with their Week 13 games versus the Hams. The Aliens and the Devils are both mathematically alive, but they've got to win. And the tie that Stick has is against the Senators. If they win out, I don't think they can catch them. So the Aliens are going to need the Senators to lose a game somewhere along the line. And the Devils can still win the division over the Mongols if with a couple of wins and Mongols lost, but we don't think that way, Terry, do we?
No, we don't.
No. And then the bottom teams are here, unfortunately, the race for number 1 overall. The Jack's Giant Killers is 2-9, Slippery Beavers 2-9, Sponge Fishermen 3-8, and the Catherine Wheels ending their 7-game losing streak. Thank goodness, but have now slipped to number 4 overall in the draft pick order. So
that is actually incorrect.
Slippery Beavers is. We have
Slippery Beavers are the number one grade because we lost to the Jack's Giant Killers.
Well, then that is my apology. I honestly didn't look that up.
No problem.
I had the Giant Killers ranked lower always just because I do that naturally.
It's not like I'm paying attention to that or anything.
No, I appreciate that. So we will swap that. So if the Beavers have the inside track on the 1 pick, Thornburg, if you get it, man, I'm sorry you're a year late.
That would suck. Terry got number 2 last year, and I got number 1 this year, and we didn't get Saquon.
Hey, let me challenge you on the notion that the Lizards are in if they win one game.
Okay.
Let's say they don't win that game against the Aliens. Let's say the Aliens win this week.
Yep.
Let's say the Aliens beat the Devils then in week 13.
Yeah, the Aliens can only get the 7 wins no matter what you do. The Blizzards can get
7, 4, and 2 in that scenario, or the equivalent of 8 wins. The Lizards could lose to the Aliens this week and still beat the Fats in week 13 and get to 8 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would come down, I think, to our head-to-head, and I've beaten the Lizards twice. I think the Lizards could be out with 8 wins.
Okay. That's a scenario that I guess that would be interesting if 7, 4, and 2 trumps 8 and 5.
Well, I mean, the winning percentage is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it would come down to the head-to-head.
Okay. And then I'm incorrect. And then in that case, then the Lizards would be out and the Aliens in.
We'll answer a lot of questions this week if the Lizards beat the
Aliens. Not even right, because that's not even right. Because if the Lizards win a game, they get to 8. That would mean the 2 wild card teams would be the Aliens and the Lizards, regardless of what the Senators did. It'd be the Senators who'd be out.
Well, no, because I think the Senators could get to 8, 4, and
1. You're right. If the Senators win both.
So we said this a couple of weeks ago. I think there's a high percentage, high odds that an 8-win team or a team with 7 wins and 2 ties, in my case,
it gets left out. All right, so we still have a number of scenarios based on some things that we'll sort out much more clarity next week.
All right, Terry, quick commissioner's report, please.
All right. All right, everybody say it with me. When's the trade deadline?
Tomorrow at noon.
Tomorrow at noon.
Can we get an extension?
No extension. I'll have I wanted to get it out today, but it didn't happen. I'll have the commissioner's report out by lunchtime tomorrow, just to recap of last week and let me bask in the Mongols win for another 5 minutes. And that's all for the commissioner's report. Short and sweet.
All right. And as I've been doing, I have a secret bonus question for you.
All right.
Most of us, I think, on the webcast would admit to rewatching the webcast pretty soon after we record it for various dorky reasons. Yeah. Do you do that, Terry, as a newcomer? And if so, do you acknowledge the microphone problems that the rest of the league has been citing? And how do you feel about it?
How do I feel about it? I don't feel really anyway about it.
I mean, Berto went and invested in all sorts of new computers, to fix this.
Well done, Berto.
I got a Logitech webcam.
I'll tell you what, we can try this right now. And to answer the although the meat of the question is the microphone, to answer your second part or the first part, I watch about half the webcasts.
The first half or the second half?
You fast forward to parts where it's just you and me badgering.
Every other week.
Okay.
All right, we'll see if we can get the audio turned up there.
If I'm not on the webcast, I like to watch the webcast, and then I'm going to have some notes about the webcast.
You do a great job recapping when you're not on it.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about Michael's his secret football service that he alluded to last webcast.
Unnamed secret football service.
I'm glad you brought that up, Berto. That was very Burke-esque of him.
Yeah. So
I think Berkman has secret football services.
I didn't want to have to do this. Let's see.
Oh, hey, Opa!
That is markedly better.
Much better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Solving problems. All right.
All right.
Okay, so let's get into our roundtable chat. We're already halfway there, but first real topic here is Bill. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about in terms of 2018's playoff action. We're going to get to that, but before it's too late, and while people are still perhaps considering trades that may involve some draft picks next year, we saw a first rounder get traded away today. Bill, give us your annual draft preview. Tell us how many good rookie running backs we're looking at next year, how deep that rookie running back pool is going to be. Any future Julio Joneses at the receiver position? What do we got?
Well, there's no Saquon Barkley. There might not be a Darius Geist, but there are probably 4 potential Julio Joneses. The number one name that keeps coming up is a guy named N'Keal Harry or whatever, out of Arizona State. I've seen his name like 1,000 times. He's been number one offensive prospect throughout the year, other than quarterback. Arizona State just puts up a whole lot of points, and he's 6'4", 220. There's there are, much as other people have different sources. I have sources that are called Devy leagues. They actually monitor, sophomores and juniors in college and stuff. And this is a really loaded class at wide receiver. You got like 4 guys who are all in the 6'4" to 6'1" range, 225, 215, all been ranked basically as at top of the list for most of the season. They're all going to be available. When you get to running back, you're looking at probably one and then another guy that'll show up. It's David Montgomery, the guy from Iowa State, is the one guy that everybody says is probably the number 1 running back. 5'11", 225, guys at 4'5". Running back, can catch balls out of the backfield, everything. He's just not Saquon Barkley. Who is? So there's no David Montgomery, again, the kid from Iowa State. After that, someone's going to show up. Someone's going to do something at the combine. There's obviously going to be an Alabama running back, Damian Harris. He's the same size and as your typical prototypical NFL running back, but we don't know Alabama running backs, do they benefit from the line so much. Bryce Love's a little undersized from Stanford. The guy's an all-weather. He's almost as good as Christian McCaffrey, but I don't know that he has run as much. He's done a lot more pass catching than McCaffrey ever did.
And Chris Johnson, not as fast, but
right. Something like a tough-nosed kid, but the range of what are good running backs in the NFL right now is extreme. You can go. We don't have any more big backs. I would say Le'Veon Bell might be the outlier in the size spectrum, but it's not there isn't going to be a marquee guy who's definitely going to go number 1, but he will emerge. There isn't anybody right now. I'm just saying that there's a ton of big, strong, fast man-child wide receivers who are going to probably be going in the if not late first round, then well through the second round of the NFL draft. As far as we go, we'll have to see. There is no clear-cut running back. There's no Saquon. Quarterbacks, there's a kid from Oregon, but whatever. It's not someone's going to overreach for him, but that doesn't affect us. So,
Bill, let's be blunt about this. This sounds like a terrible incoming rookie running back.
It's not a good rookie running back class. No, it's not. It is. There will have to be some reaches in the 5. If somebody wants a running back at 5 or 6 or 4, even, you're going to have to take a flyer on something. I would think that this is going to be a draft where we're going to see a lot of veterans redrafted in the first round. A lot of guys who were cut, who weren't keepers, are going to be redrafted in the first round because it's just not a strong draft at all.
Listen, don't rain on my parade of having an early pick.
Oh no, there's going to be a guy. There's going to be a guy. You're going to, whether it's you or me, there's going to be a guy.
What about the running back from Kentucky, Bill? What do you know about him? He's supposed to be.
You're talking about Benny Snell.
Benny Snell.
Yeah, I can't honestly say that I've seen much of him. I know some stats of him, but it's not. I can't say that that's. I mean, is someone going to spend a number 2 or number 3 or number 4 pick on Benny Snell? I mean, at least last year we had, 3 or 4 guys who had some hype about him. It's not going to be good. And this is coming from a guy who's going to be picking maybe 2 or 3, or 1. Who knows? So it's not a strong draft. All I can say from this point.
And you can say it will lead to more veteran running backs being taken early. I
don't even know. I don't even know if it'll be running back. I'm just saying that people are going to be picking over the unprotected number 8 a lot in the first round, as opposed to going after rookies.
Well, I think it may lead to more of the running backs at all costs. People may want to hold on to anybody who's got any value, because
perhaps that's why the market for certain running backs is high.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. I want to talk about we're 2 weeks away.
Sorry to rain on your parade, guys.
No, hey, we needed that. And you're right. There's always going to be a couple running backs who emerge and get.
There's going to be a combine phenom. There's going to be a guy who blows up in the last 3 weeks and the last 2 weeks and does something great in his conference final, and then his bowl game has 300 yards and suddenly declares. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, who's this guy?" And someone's going to take a flyer. It only takes 1, 2, 3 teams. There will be running backs taken in the second round. There's no doubt. There isn't anybody that shouts at you.
And Hank at the end of the first round looking for a high upside rookie receiver to replace Julio Jones. I
would think that there are going to be some wow factor wide receivers. I mean, guys taken maybe in the top 15, maybe top 20, 2 or 3 wide receivers taken early in the NFL draft. And so I think that although it's such and you brought it up, Stick, how volatile taking a wide receiver in the top 5 of the TFFL draft is. But you gotta take chances.
Okay, next topic. We're 2 weeks away, two weeks to go in the regular season. We're going to be talking playoffs very soon. Let's revisit the important question. Who is the title favorite right now heading into Week 12 action? I'll preface this by saying, the obvious answer is the Boba Fats. They're undefeated. And we've been trying to, pick at them all season long, and I'll keep doing it here. The last 2 weeks, they have scored only 64 and 70 points. I think the league collectively has acknowledged that even getting to 70 is not a guaranteed win anymore. You got to get 80 to even, we've had ties in the 80s this year. So they've had 64, they've had 70 the last 2 weeks. They had 58 a few weeks back. We've seen the Hams and the Ampac scoring 100, but the Boba Fats have not scored 100 since week 4. And I'm going to bring up the Rams again. A big win by the Rams over the Chiefs. Gurley, a little ankle injury apparently during the game. All these things keep adding up to the Rams maybe sitting guys week 16, week 17, week 16 being the important one. Are the Fats the title favorite necessarily, or do you have somebody else in mind you think is your pick right now?
I think that I can't factor if the Rams are going to sit their guys in week 16. I mean, maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who knows? Let's pretend they don't. Let's pretend that they're going to play. The Fats are the team to beat. They definitely are. They're 23 in a row. Everybody's had a shot at them, some of us multiple times. I think the other scary teams right now, I think, are the Hams, who just got Julio. I think their receiving core is better, and they've got some depth there. And Mahomes, like we saw on Monday night, can light it up. And the Lizards have won three in a row, I think now, and they're playing better. But the other one is the Ampac. The Ampac, who I hate to admit it, have got scary running backs. Not scary quarterback, but scary running backs. So,
and Tyreek Hill.
And Tyreek Hill, that's true. Which is a nice, a nice Hams offsetter, but it's not a Fats offsetter.
Yeah.
As I said in the TFFL chat, it's too bad the Bro Bowl wasn't this past weekend. We would have had a 100-96 game in that. with Hill going back and forth, that would have been great.
Mm.
Who do you guys like? Bill?
Yeah, I mean it's basically Fats. I was quickly looking at who Goff is playing, and they've got the weird stats or whatever that on CBS that says that they're playing Arizona, the number 2 opponent versus quarterbacks in week 16, and then I look at Todd Gurley, and they've got Arizona, the number 29 ranked defense in the running game in week 16. So it's there's no denying that unless somebody gets on a roll, like we saw them last year. I remember having great hope that we would beat Fats in the conference championship, and then just getting Gurleyed, and then they went on to win the whole thing. So we just don't know, and it's a long way right now between now and week 16. So I would give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's no way an open and shut case.
Rodo?
I mean, the bye is such a huge thing. It's tough. It's really, you can't. I mean, the Fats. I said the Lizards a few weeks ago. I still think the Lizards are good, but you can't deny that the Hams, with Julio Jones, add a huge piece that makes them a viable contender. So I don't know. There's really, I think the TFL this year, there's really good teams and there's really bad teams. And I hate to say it, but a couple people on this webcast are on the losing end of that equation. So the mediocrity that sometimes exists in the TFL and those teams kind of slip into the playoffs. The mediocrity isn't there. I think there's good teams and there's bad teams, and there's not really too much in the middle, which is a little bit of a different year for the TFL, I'd say.
Terry, who's your pick?
Well, I think we've hit on the teams: Lizards, Hams, Fats, Packers. The Senators are maybe a Brady hot streak away from being a contender. But I like the teams. I like the Hams and the Fats as the 2 best, and the reason being, when your quarterback can blow up for 35 to 40 on any given week, and more than, not that Cam couldn't do it or Matt Ryan can't do it, these guys are doing it more. And I think that's, and combine that with the deep roster and Gurley and David Johnson, Antonio Brown, and other players, I think, with apologies to the Packers, I think that the Hams and the Fats are the favorites.
Yeah, I said.
And apologies to the Lizards. Sorry, Rich.
There are a lot of good teams out there. My answer to this question a few weeks ago was the Hams, for the exact reason Terry just brought up, that I always like the guy at the top of the lineup who can, maybe not every many weeks, drop 40 on you. And the Hams still have that. Mahomes upped the ante to what, 47 points.
47 points with 5 turnovers.
Right. And then he adds Julio Jones on top of that. Julio Jones, Antonio Brown at receiver. I like the Hams right now as a slight favorite.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll ask next week, and the answer will be somebody different next week, and then we'll ask after week 13, and we'll have another answer after that. So, who's going to get hot, who's going to avoid any major injuries, or who's going to have a major injury, we should say, because that probably
events will dictate.
Yep.
Yeah, events will dictate, exactly. But yeah, it's tough right now because there's some great teams.
All right, hey, so we've got 2 owners here tonight from the SoCo East. A fascinating division this year. The Dirt Devils, streaked out to a big lead to start the year,
5-1,
and we saw the 2 other teams in that division, the Mongols and the Beavers, take vastly different approaches. Hold on one second, let me let the dog out here.
Yeah, well, this is good. The Mongols have played this, because the Devils, the team has lost 5 since they were 5-1. They've now lost 5 straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but prior to that, so the Devils looked like they were running away with this, and Bill came out very publicly, very early on, saying, "I'm giving up. I don't see a path forward. The fire sale never quite materialized, but you were willing to trade guys very early on." Terry, on the other hand, made the big, bold Drew Brees trade. Was that week 4, Terry?
Week 3 or 4, yeah.
Not very far into the season.
Yeah.
Tell me what you guys saw that made you take those different paths. Terry, you obviously saw the Dirt Devils is very beatable, and you've caught up to them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to say that I thought any team was weak, but I thought of all the divisions in the TFFL, ours was the most winnable. And, I had a chance to get Drew Brees, and it made sense. And, I went for it. It's not any really more complicated than that. In today's TFFL, you don't win without putting up big numbers at quarterback usually. And so I tried to make that happen.
Ballsy. Love it, Terry. You had some balls this year. I love it. Terry is a dark horse candidate for GM of the year. You certainly got Fats in there, and you got Michael, some of the deals he's made, but Terry is an under the radar. If he can do something with this Mongols team, win a playoff game, there's a path to Mongols. It's exciting.
It's fun. Let's get one win here. Clinch it for sure.
From a Beavers perspective, we kept waiting one more week for Le'Veon to show up. The week after that, the week after that, the week after that, and then suddenly the hole was too deep. And Aaron Rodgers was hobbled, and Marlon Mack was still not starting yet. So it was a bad. It got to the point where we couldn't even make any moves. We weren't sure where we were going to be, what was going on, and even with the Devils starting out so fast, had Le'Veon come back, Connor then drops to the bench, and he has, we're suddenly then playing really well, so ready to do well. So it was just a confluence of just bad things, and it even went back to the fact that we didn't even know at the draft what we were going to do, forcing us to take a tight end in the second round and a flyer on a wide receiver. So it's one of those years you just kind of say, okay, things didn't go your way. I wasn't going to cut loose on anybody, so we just kind of take our lumps, and we're in a pretty good position to get a good pick next year. Running backs aside, whether there aren't any or not, but we're still going to have a good pick next year. And you know what? I mean, Terry manages pretty well. Nick hasn't really done much to improve or disprove. He just thought he could ride that, and I think if Nick had done some things or anything, literally anything, because last week he lost on a defensive touchdown. So that's it.
I mean, you look at your two rosters, and you've got. I know Aaron Rodgers was hobbled, but you've got the equivalent of Drew Brees. You've got perhaps a better receiver
without the wide receivers, without the talent around him. That's the problem.
Yeah, but I think you hit the nail. I mean, I think you've been handcuffed by Bell all season long. I think I don't want to.
I mean, this is the guy who in dailies was going, in redraft leagues was going number 2.
Right, and
it's not an excuse. It's things happen like this, but it doesn't happen like this.
No, it doesn't. This was and there's a reason we're all talking about it. This was a very unusual situation. It did handcuff you. You didn't know what was going to happen from one week to the next. And not to get too much inside your head, but I think even psychologically at the start of the season, what a blow that was. Yeah, and you're thinking I'm down my stud guy already, and
At what point do I do what? I mean, it's not a matter of at what point do you do something. It's at what point, at that point, what do you do at that point? So there was no, I was left in this kind of this mediocre area of not knowing anything. So we're happy that, I think we still have talent. We got a lot of talent coming up for next year. Marlon Mack's starting to come into place, so we're fine.
Bill, I think we can sum it up. You were a big pussy.
I can co-sign that, but I think Bill, I think you talked a lot in the past tense as if this was all like resolved now, that you're overcome these ills. We just talked about you're going to have the #1 pick in the draft.
No, probably #2.
Or #2. Your season has been a shit sandwich to this point, and it's only getting worse. Le'Veon Bell is an unknown. We have no idea if, when, where he will ever play football again. You're going to keep him again on the hope that he comes back. That's 2 years in a row that you'll have kept a guy playing you at nothing for you. Aaron Rodgers is showing what happens when a major signing in today's NFL around a quarterback, what it does to the rest of the cupboard, which is you got to fill it with a bunch of young guys, which New Orleans has done amazingly successful around Drew Brees. Green Bay, not so much around Aaron Rodgers. I think the Beavers have got some long-term trouble, and you better hope that one of those running backs emerges for you to take in the draft. Because you're going.
You mean like Christian McCaffrey or Marlon Mack or Le'Veon Bell or whoever I take at #2?
Christian McCaffrey's a nice player. Good number.
Oh, yeah, he's just a nice player. Yeah, okay.
He's a nice player.
Let's just clarify that we have a 3-7 team talking trash to a 2-8 team.
4-7. Four wins.
Yeah, he did beat me. So,
hey, Terry, to wrap up this conversation, 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, you were despondent about
the sad sack episode. Yeah.
Have you totally gone to the other way now, or do you still have lingering?
Yeah, I'm all in now. I mean, I know what the shortcomings of my team are, and I no longer care. I'm just gonna put my best lineup out there every week and see what's gonna happen, and I'm pretty psyched about it.
I like this swagger the Mongols are displaying. I am on the Mongol bandwagon. Let's go, Mongols.
I'm a huge I agree, Phil. I'm a big Mongols fan.
This webcast endorses the Mongols. Let's go, Mongols.
Well, thank you. You're all welcome aboard the bandwagon.
And we've conquered the microphone issue to boot.
I love it. The headphones are a joy. They're a revelation.
That's crazy.
Hey, final topic for our roundtable chat. Hey, Berto, have you heard from Kramer today?
Yeah, hi, Amanda.
Hello, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
Have you heard from Kramer today regarding the Hams acquisition of Julio Jones?
Yes.
And then the second part of this question for the panel is, how surprised are you that Kramer in particular has not been one of the guys making a big acquisition? And do you expect him to in the next, 14 hours?
I don't think I'm telling any state secrets here, but I think Kramer was communicating with Phil about Julio Jones as well. So
Kramer has been a long time Julio admirer, and he didn't have the picks to do what I was hoping to get out of Julio, which is what I think I got. At the end of the day, look, Kramer and I'll do trades again. I've done a lot of trades with Kramer. He's if the back and forth is like we all know. So this one didn't work out. He's got Julio to the Hams. There we go. Let's see it. But I hope the Senators now beat the Hams and knock the Hams pick, make it worse.
Okay, let's start wrapping up here. Let me give you a TFFL trivia answer.
All right.
Wait, what are we actually presenting here?
Presenting 5 names on a list.
6.
5.
6.
6.
Shit, I gotta find another one then. Hang on. Don't show me your things.
The only reason why I knew Des Bryant is because that was the Arian Foster draft.
Yes, it was.
All right. So
You had that too, right, Terry?
Yes, I have that. I have Jeremy Macklin.
I know that's the only one I actually know is right.
Dick, why don't you read them?
I just wrote the best receivers I could come up with.
Yeah.
let me give you the 6. You guys can score yourself and tell us how you scored here. Des Bryant, number 4 overall, back in 2010, is the first name that should be on that list.
Got it.
The inspiration for this question, in 2011, we had, and this is the only year that 2 receivers made this group, Julio Jones, number 2 overall.
Yes.
Julio Jones is the highest drafted of these 6 players.
Got it.
2 overall in 2011.
Got it.
AJ Green at number 4 overall in that same draft.
That I remember as well.
2014, we have to skip a few years ahead. Mike Evans, number 3 overall to the Lizards.
Did not get that.
Next year, 2015, Amari Cooper, number 5 overall.
Oh.
Yep, got that.
And the one that I thought might surprise you, but I think a few of you got this, Jeremy Macklin of this bunch, number 3 overall in 2016 to the Boba Fett.
All right, so I got 4 and the bonus. I did get Julio. But I also had – so I had 4 right, and then I also had Antonio Brown and Sammy Watkins.
All right.
6, all 6, and the bonus.
Wow. I got 4 right with the bonus. I got Julio, AJ Green, Beckham is not, but then I got Cooper and Evans.
I just got the 3. Okay.
Macklin, Evans, and Cooper. All right. So hang on. Let's recap those points then. All right. So
big
points night. All right, hang on. I'm letting this thing. My word is not liking me. All right. All right. So we got. Who got them all? Terry.
Yes.
Terry, that's impressive. Wow, impressive.
That's 12. That's 15 points for Terry.
Very impressive. That is awesome.
All right, and then Berto, how many did you get?
I got 4, and the bonus. I did get Julio right.
You got 11 points.
Okay, got 4 out of the 6.
I got 4 out of the 6. Yes.
Okay, so that's 8 plus 3. That's 11. And then Thorny, what did you get?
3.
3, not the bonus. So you got 6. And Hank got 4 plus the bonus. So that's 11.
The most scintillating minute of the webcast. Right.
Watching Hank do math.
For points that don't really matter.
They do matter.
Of course they do.
These things matter.
This whole thing is existential.
Chief's going to be pissed.
Hey,
Bill
one quick
Penn
reference,
stakes up
one
16.
quick note here. Berto, I don't know if you remember, but I brought up Josh Allen a year ago in this exact same broadcast, and you were the only one to write the name down. Yep. So.
Okay. We just took Chief to dead last in the pool.
Hey!
So Hank is now leading with 26. Hero is in second with 21. Berto with 14. Chief with 13, and the guest with 13.
Okay.
We have
there you go, guest.
Tonight.
We'll give Chief an opportunity for a big swing at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
But
all right.
Sammy Watkins was one of those.
We talked a lot about him on this webcast when he slipped to the second round.
He dropped, yeah.
All right. And I also had Antonio Brown. That was another one.
I thought of him. I didn't put him down.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the Senators, how they got him. I know they traded him to the Hams. That's how he ended up on the Hams. But Terry, give us the schedule and the game of the week to talk about.
All right. Week 12, 2 weeks left in the season. We have the Mongols taking on the unbeaten Boba Fats. Jack's Giant Killers will be playing the Amsterdam Packers. The Sponge Fishermen versus the Senators. Senators looking for a win. The K-Wheels play the Hormel Hams. with all the subplots that Berto brought up earlier. Phillip Rivers, Julio Jones. The Devils play the Beavers in a SoCo East matchup. And then the game of the week pits the Aliens versus the Lizards. Huge game. Aliens 5-4-2. Lizards 6, whatever they are, 7-3. So good luck to the Aliens and the Lizards.
Yeah, Liz, a 66 to 47 point favorite. There's got to be some missing players here. Well, you got Zerline in their stick.
Yeah, I have not set my. I mean, we're talking on Tuesday night here, but yeah, Zerline's
games are Thursday. 3 games on Thursday. So
yep. Zerline obviously coming out. Dan Bailey will be in. That's my main bye week issue. I said it already. He's got Kareem Hunt out. He's got Kerryon Johnson injured. Yeah. That's his big weakness this week. Yeah,
Howard and Austin Eckler, I think, are in his backfield right now, and Joku. If this is the lineup he's going to go with.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got Roethlisberger right now, quarterback over Cam. And I think that has to be a new move. I think he had Cam starting in there.
Yeah.
This has been something that has plagued the Lizards all season long, has been lineup decisions at quarterback in particular, benching Cam. But he went out and traded for Roethlisberger and told us he did it for this, to give himself more options. Big decision. It's been on the road at Denver.
Yeah.
Cam at home against Seattle, but he may change his mind, but that's where he is right now.
Road Ben is a different quarterback.
Yeah.
Aliens lead the all-time series 22-16-1, by the way. 22-16-1.
And Chief was good to acknowledge last week or the week before that Aliens and Lizards have had several big games late in the season in recent years. And I think most recently, the Aliens have come through when we needed to. This obviously, it's do or die. If we lose, we're out. If we win, I think, again, we're in the driver's seat, but we'll have to then beat the Devils in week 13. And I'm hoping my week 11, I'm hoping that was an aberration. We got that out of our system. That was unlike anything we've had this season. We're going to have to come back with 70+ in week 12. All right, let's wrap up. We are a day away, not more than 14 hours away from our trade deadline. Given the flurry we saw today, I'd kind of be surprised if we don't see something more. Senators, Lizards, maybe even the Amsterdam Packers are all contending teams that have not bought yet. We are 2 days away from Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving out there to everybody.
I'm grateful for the TFFL.
We're all grateful for the TFFL. And as Bill noted, we've got
it gives me something to talk about to my weird male clients who don't like to talk about things. They're like, tell me about your husband's webcast. So I talk about it.
Make sure they tune in.
We could have a
I
much.
tried to. They want the link.
Yeah, I don't know if we need a.
Thanks, Amanda. That was a good.
Yeah.
How are we going to monetize without more viewers?
Yeah, we need more subscribers. We do. Yeah.
We need a lot more to monetize. But yeah, anyway, so happy Thanksgiving, everybody. As Bill noted, as we all should know, we got 3 games on Thursday. So, make sure your lineups are set. We got lots of guys we'll be cheering on Thursday. Aliens Lizards is the big game, but a lot of these outcomes, even if they're not head-to-head big games, are going to have implications leading into week 13. So enjoy the holiday, enjoy the long weekend, enjoy week 12. Berto?
The anti-rant today. And Amanda hit on it. So I was going to say grateful for the TFL again. How many leagues would get teams with such shitty records on a webcast prior to week 12? So that in and of itself says something about the engagement of this league. That
That's because the people who are winning can sleep.
Teams on this webcast are just really bad. And we're engaged in the league and we're on this webcast. And again, I know I say this probably once a year on a webcast, but it's a testament to the strength of the TFL. And Amanda stole my thunder. I was going to say I'm grateful for the TFL, even though the Killers are so horrible this year.
Well said. Good job, Berto. Yes. Hear, hear.
Not only do we have 3, forgive me, terrible teams this year and a 4th maybe in the Aliens that may miss the playoffs. That's a testament. The fact that people are out there either live or later on actually listening to these terrible teams talk about as if we know what we're talking about.
For an hour.
Is a compliment to the entire league.
And Thornburg, as I want, we do have a viewer, and it's not Thornburg because he's on the webcast. So maybe it's fast.
Right.
Maybe, yes. Hello, viewer.
But as we talked about with Terry last week, yeah, this is something I think we all look forward to every week. I'm grateful to be here with you guys. Grateful for our audience out there. Grateful for the whole TFFL. So, yeah, have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy all the football. Good luck to your team in Week 12, no matter what you're competing for. Bill, thank you very much for joining us.
Glad to be here, guys.
And we'll be back here looking ahead to our final week of the regular season in just a week. In the meantime, take care. We'll see you soon.
Find me some more rookie running backs.
Everyone.
I need running backs. We need depth.
I'll keep digging. I'll find some rookie running backs for you.
Thank you. Good night.